much about fires and the damage that occurs that I think the average person doesn't really know. And so that's what we're going to kind of get into today. Anybody know what the biggest damage is when there's a fire?
Smoke.
It is smoke. You know why it's the smoke?
I was thinking that maybe the chemicals in the smoke totally...
Yeah, there's so many chemicals, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about and get into this morning when the smoke happens. In your home, just think of all your couches, your plastic containers, your metals. All of those have all kinds of toxic chemicals. And when those are released into the smoke and they mix, some of them can be very dangerous. They can also do a lot of very destructive things to your property. We just recently had a fire that we were working on, and the gentleman, his stove caught on fire. And it was actually put out fairly quickly. But the smoke from this filled the house, and there ended up being about $65,000 worth of damage. And his house was fine. I mean, as far as there was no fire. It didn't burn half the house down or anything like that. But the smoke itself, once it gets going, and we're gonna see some great examples here a little bit later, it really can do a lot of damage. And what happens is a lot of people don't realize, one, how toxic it is. They don't realize they can't just take a sponge and just clean it off. And so a lot of times people don't file claims when they get smoke damage, especially if it's a smaller amount. Or they don't really know what to do. Maybe they cash out and they decide, hey, I'd like to take the money and go to Hawaii, and this will all clean up. But the longer you wait, and one of the main things we're going to talk about is the longer you wait to mitigate, the worse it's going to be. And a lot of times you can't actually get rid of the damage. You always think it's not going to happen to you. You know, whether it be mold or water damage or fire damage, until it happens, and then you panic. It's very much like this morning. I'm sitting here trying to set up this camera, and there was an oversight on my part that I didn't expect to happen. And then in my brain, that panic feeling of like, oh, I can't think straight. I don't have time to think straight. And that's what happens when emergencies happen, is people are in there and they just don't think straight. They don't know what to do. And so that's why it's important to kind of have an idea, what do I do before it ever happens, so that I know and have a plan in place. Okay, we're going to talk about 4 costly misconceptions about smoke mitigation. The first one is that smoke is a natural result of fire, so what's the big deal? And a lot of times people have this misconception because we've all gone camping. We have the smoke fire. I mean, we're just kind of, okay, yeah, you don't want to breathe in the smoke, but it's just smoke. It's okay. There's no big deal. However, even though natural smoke is a lot easier to deal with, most of what happens in our homes is synthetic. It's synthetic. It's not natural materials like wood that's burning. It's all the chemicals, all of the paint and lacquer that's on everything. And so when that starts to burn, the smoke is a whole different issue. You know, when that oven burned in our customer's house, all the stuff that's put into an oven starts to burn as well, and that ends up with the smoke. So it is a big deal. It's very dangerous. The second one is smoke can easily be removed. That's actually a real misconception. You can't just take 409 and get it off most of the time. Now, it's a lot easier, like I said, if it's a natural fire. But even that, in fact, I didn't bring it in here. We were camping last week, and we're out in the desert, and I had a coat on, and it's like a suede kind of coat, and I'm out by the fire, and I wasn't getting pummeled with smoke fire. And you're in the desert, so there's no trees. I mean, there's wind and everything. But you know what? I can still faintly smell the campfire on my jacket, even though I wasn't like doused with the smoke. It really permeates. And there's, by the way, a lot of the materials in your home are very porous. And so it really soaks up the smoke. So not only do you have the cleaning aspect, you have the smell. And a lot of people don't realize how bad, if you've never been in a fire, you don't realize how bad the smell can be. And you can mask it, but it's really difficult to get rid of it, especially if you don't mitigate and deal with it right away. It can be permanent. And we often have claims come in, and we try to repair things back to pre-loss conditions. But if we weren't called quick enough, or the smoke damage was too severe, people can have something that looks perfectly fine, but the smell is never going to go away. It's deep inside there. And so smoke can be a little more of a hassle than people realize. Lastly, they think, well, smoke can be removed anytime. But that's not true. Actually, as I was talking about, if smoke damage sits on your walls, your countertops, your furniture, your clothing for any length of time, it will actually set in and become a permanent part of what you're doing. And I'll show you some examples of that in a little bit. And so you really need to get in there very quickly. The cool thing is there are products and methods that if you get to the smoke damage quick enough, you actually can remove it most of the time. And so that's why it's the whole idea of don't wait to get in there and deal with it. The last misconception is smoke doesn't hurt anything or anybody, which I think most of us in elementary school, I don't even know if I consider this a misconception much anymore, because we have all the firemen come in and they teach us to have our fire plans, and we know that we have to remain low, not to breathe the smoke. But smoke really does actually, I think a lot of the problems that come in house fires with people isn't so much the burn, it's the smoke inhalation that can come from it. And so it is dangerous. And most accidental fires are complex fires, and they have what's called a black acrid smoke. And that is very dangerous to breathe in, not alone get on your skin. What are the consequences of waiting to mitigate? One of the things is etching of metals. People don't realize that the acids in the smoke can actually permanently etch the metals in your home. And this is an important thing. Damage to marble and other surfaces. A lot of you think, well, marble, that can't be damaged by smoke. It actually can, depending on the chemicals that are in there. It can permanently damage the marble. Obviously, increased loss. It's going to cost more. Odor problems. This is a big one. A lot of times people will have the odor, and they think if they just air the house out and spray some air freshener in there, and they don't smell it. But what happens is a day, 2 days later, the smell comes right back. All right, pop quiz. First question. How many dollars in damage is done every year to homes because of fire and smoke damage?
Millions.
Just any millions?
Lots. Billions and billions.
Lots. Nobody wants to actually assign a number. Believe it or not, first time I saw this, it kind of floored me. It's over $3 billion in damages done to homes each year just from fire and smoke damage. That's just mind-boggling. Next question is, what are some common causes of household fires?
Coming up in the holiday season, Christmas trees.
Okay, Christmas trees. What else?
Candles.
Electrical, candles.
Heaters.
All right. Some of the top ones include kitchen fires are up there as one of the top things. And a lot of times it's something as silly as just forgetting to turn something off, as well as just grease fires and things like that. Electrical fires are big. People don't, the wiring in our house is just something we don't think about until it's too late. And especially if you buy an older house, you don't think about it, and it only takes one little spark. Gas fires, and then I think somebody said this, cigarettes actually are really a big cause of fires that people don't realize. So how many minutes does it take for a house to fill with deadly smoke?
5 minutes.
That's the answer. Very good. Within 5 minutes of a fire, that acid smoke can fill the entire house. And so and all the damage can be done really quickly, or at least it's there. And that's why you need to get in there quickly and deal with it. And that's why a lot of times fire claims, especially if they're small, can end up costing a lot more to restore, because that smoke permeates all the cabinets. Everything has to be cleaned. We have a team here, and you're going to meet a couple of them here a little bit later, who, when there's a fire, they immediately go out into the house and just start cleaning everything. They take the dishes out. They're cleaning dishes. They're cleaning the cabinets. They're cleaning all the things you might not think about. And they do that because if they can get it clean before the damage has really set in and gone past the point of no return, then that's going to save a lot of money.
You are about to see a fire, one that has been planned, a demonstration fire. An ashtray with a still smoldering cigarette is dumped into the wastebasket. 2 minutes, 8 seconds. The contents of the wastebasket are smoldering. 7 minutes, 3 seconds. The wastebasket is in flames. 9 minutes 14 seconds. The room is an inferno. You are about to experience the power of fire. In 1986, I narrated that program called Firepower for the National Fire Protection Association, the NFPA. The purpose was to demonstrate the awesome, deadly power of a fire and the incredible speed with which a home fire can spread. We wanted viewers to see how quickly a home fire can reach the point of flashover, when everything in a room combusts and no one can survive. We wanted viewers to understand that if a fire starts in their home, time is very short, and their first priority must be to escape. Our fire begins here in the living room where most home fires start. Let's take a look around. In the 1986 video, I took viewers on a tour of a two-story frame house before we set it on fire. The front hallway, sort of a catch-all for a busy family, and the only direct exit for someone who may be upstairs. Let's see what we have on the second floor. We pointed out the sentimental items and the children's clothes and toys, which would soon be destroyed in the fire. In that video, we also pointed out the smoke alarm, which gave a warning that a fire had started. That home was not protected with fire sprinklers, and so the uncontrolled fire destroyed much of the home before the fire department could arrive to fight and extinguish it. But we also did a second demonstration, showing how in a home that was equipped with fire sprinklers, an identical fire was extinguished quickly before conditions became life-threatening and before any significant damage was done. Much has changed since we made that video in 1986, yet one thing has remained the same: the awesome destructive power of fire and the speed at which an unchecked home fire reaches the point of no return. Flashover. Let's take a look back at the demonstration fire we set in 1986. 30 seconds from first flame, the sofa ignites. From this point, fire grows rapidly. If you discover a fire, leave immediately and call the fire department from a neighbor's house. Nowadays, you might call from your cell phone rather than the neighbor's house, but the point remains the same. When you discover a fire, get out fast and then call the fire department. Let's return to the 1986 fire. 1 minute 4 seconds from first flame. Smoke begins to fill the room. 1 minute 35 seconds. The smoke layer in the living room descends rapidly. Gases flowing out of this room now exceed 190 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 minute 50 seconds. The smoke detector at the foot of the stairs sounds an alarm, providing warning before exits are blocked. Take action immediately. Crawl low where the air is cleaner. 2 minutes 30 seconds. The temperature above the couch is now 400 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 minutes 48 seconds. Smoke pours into the dining room. Thick black smoke moves rapidly upstairs. 3 minutes 3 seconds. Melted polyurethane burns under the couch. Suddenly the lampshade ignites. The temperature 3 feet above the floor in this room is over 500 degrees Fahrenheit. No one could survive. From the outside, there may be no evidence of the inferno inside. 3 minutes 41 seconds. The energy in the room suddenly ignites everything. Within 1 minute, the temperature has risen to over 1,400 degrees. Flashover. Only 2 minutes after the smoke alarm sounded, we watched as the downstairs and upstairs hallways became impassable. For anyone still inside the house, an emergency escape route would be the only way out. It's important to note that today's larger homes with open designs allow a fire to spread throughout the house quickly. The expanded use of synthetic material, along with other modern contents and furnishings, provide a powerful fuel source. Back to 1986, as the fire raged inside and out, the fire department arrived. Firefighters wearing protective clothing enter to search the house and to combat the fire. Fire grows so fast that the fire department may not be able to rescue anyone trapped inside. They open walls to check for fire spread. The aftermath of the fire was grim. It took just 4 minutes from the first flame in the wastebasket for the temperature in this room to reach over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The fire ultimately became so hot, the window glass softened and flowed.
And a lot of times, especially in newer homes where they have the sprinkler systems, or it's a small fire and it's put out quickly, there are lots of opportunities to mitigate, to deal with the damage quickly and efficiently, and hopefully save as much money and as much of the loss as possible. Complex fires involve synthetic material. Here's a good example. I'm burning this. I'm not going to burn it long. Yeah, now, I don't know if you guys can see it from where you are. What color is that smoke? It's very black, too. It's different than a campfire smoke. And it smells wonderful. And we've probably all had smelt burned plastic before. The reason that smoke is a lot blacker, and this is the kind of black that happens in a house fire, is it's a black acrid smoke. The chemicals in the PVC pipe change the makeup of the smoke. And so that's what you get. If anybody would like to smell it, you can, but I wouldn't. And when you got to imagine burning all of the stuff that's in a house, that's one of the reasons why the smell is so bad. It's horrendous. In fact, that's a whole nother issue. You've got cleaning the smoke damage, then you've got the odor damage to deal with. So you have the synthetic material. There can be over 100 chemical elements released in the average house fire. So that's a lot of chemicals that mix together, and that's why it's so lethal. We talked about an incomplete burn, and then of course you have this acid gas. Anybody here ever known anybody who was burned by acid? Yes?
Yes.
What happened?
Exploded battery.
Okay, exploded battery, good example. What happens with the chemicals in smoke is it creates an acid gas. So even though it's not like the acid in a battery, it has the same effects. It can really be lethal. There's a lot of corrosive solutions, and then you end up with the black acid smoke. So there are 3 types of ways that smoke burn, or 3 types of smoke burns. One is we know about the whole idea of fire, right? I mean, fire burns. Let's see if we can get that up here. Heat melts, chemicals burn as well. Battery acid is a great example of something that actually just burns you, just like a fire would. Acid gas plus heat plus water vapor plus cooling can often cause a corrosive solution. And what you'll see in a lot of house fires, most of them, is almost like a black tar that's left on your furniture and on your walls. And that tar is essentially what's come from the acid gases of everything that's in your home, the heat, the water vapor that comes from putting it out, and then it cools down and you get this just what's like a tar. And when you have it in a larger way in a house fire, that's what happens. Now what we're going to do is, this is a cool thing that I've got. We're going to watch a video that's actually walking through a house that had a fire, but what you're really going to deal with is the smoke damage. And we're going to kind of walk through it. You'll get to see some rooms that had a lot of smoke damage, some rooms that didn't have so much. You get to see the tar that's on the walls. And then the cool thing is, pay attention, because there's some rooms that when they open the door, it looks as if there's no damage. Until you look on the like the nightstand, and where there was a cup, you can see that there is smoke damage. I mean, that the smoke is there, but you might not see it at first glance. So they're going through. This is the main room, and you can obviously see, some of that is smoke burn, some of that's actually from the fire. And it's really bad in this room. And a lot of times something like that would be a total loss on those walls. But some of the smoke damage that goes higher can be cleaned. Here's some of your white chairs that were totally done up. and they go out in the hallway. Now here's a bathroom that actually did not, the fire wasn't in the bathroom. This is just smoke damage, and that's that black tar that I was talking about. That acid smoke that gets all over everything. Now here's a room that the door was shut. So, you know, I love this video too because it's, you're just living life, and when this stuff happens, it's so unexpected. In this room, that's a good control room. There wasn't a whole lot of damage. I don't know if they had something that kept the smoke out. Here's another bathroom that, at first look, you think, oh, it's not too bad, but you can see on the toilet tank there, on the sink, that's all the smoke. And believe it or not, that smoke can burn those surfaces if it's not treated quickly enough. If they wait or they go in there, they can actually set the soot, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Now here's the kitchen. It's kind of spooky, isn't it? I'm sorry?
Where did the fire start?
It started in the living room with a computer. Now here, it looks like there's not much damage, but if you look on the walls, I don't know if you can tell, they're kind of a discolored. That actually was white back there. But they're discolored, kind of a gray now. There's just a light sense of smoke over everything that gets in there. You can kind of see it on the walls a little bit. You can see the black on the white tile. Smoke, see there, I don't know if you, could you guys see that? Oh, there you can see it on top of the microwave. It gets into, smoke gets into the cabinets. And
His alcohol from the other room was good, though. I saw that.
oh, did you?
Thank goodness the beer was
No, I actually think this, if I remember, this is like a bunch of younger college student type things all living together. But
The hard stuff.
so you can see it all over the banisters, all the smoke damage that comes through. And you're going to have more in there because the smoke really built up in the stairwell. It's on the doors. Here's a great example. The room looks fine, like, oh, there's no damage, nothing on the wall, but you can see that there's smoke in there just because of the end table there, the side table, all along the edges of the wood. Yeah, it looks like just really black dust.
If you guys went to this place, would you take all this stuff and take it back to clean it?
In this case, a lot, especially these upper rooms, we would. We'd take everything down, pack it out, and this would actually be, this would be a huge job. And a lot of those stuff could be cleaned. Now, the first floor would have, that's a total loss. A lot of this can be, depending on how quick we got there, some of that could be cleaned.
Does the water, when they go to put out a fire, does the water wash it in even more? Does that get it into everything even further?
Not usually. It depends. Sometimes the issue is more of the water damage that's come from putting the fire out. Yeah, and it kind of makes it a moot point. You can see it on the, I don't know if you can tell on the back edge of that board. There you go. Where it's settled down. And believe it or not, it's going to be in all of the bedspreads and clothing, and you know, it's going to be in there. This is kind of like a reality show.
Is this recently, this video?
Yeah, about 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
And there's the shower, and you can see it all over the ledge there and on there. And if you notice, with all these top floors, the main fire was on the first floor. All right, there was no fire up here. It's the smoke that filled everything up that's causing all the damage.
Is that smoke rise? Oh, go ahead.
Can you actually get the clothes clean?
Most of the time, if it's mitigated quick enough, we have if we can't clean it, we have an industrial dry cleaner that we partner with that will. It's good at getting that stuff out.
Did they say what kind of laptop they had?
No, I don't know.
Probably Windows.
There you go, a good example of all that black, and that's what happens in a complex fire. To successfully mitigate even a situation like this, time is of the essence. The quicker, like, we can get on a job and get in there, the less it's going to cost. the less damage there's going to be.
Should we call you before we call the insurance company?
Personally, between you and me, yes. I would get somebody on the job quickly. You know, like in our case, we work with every insurance company that's out there. Our estimators, they know what to do. You want to get somebody out there. Because sometimes your insurance adjusters or your companies, they're not as quick as you would want them to be. And you want to get somebody out there working on it right away. Humidity can definitely affect it, temperature and the pressure, the types of combustible materials. So depending on, you know, I sometimes think, you know, obviously more natural materials are going to be better, but we all have houses full of synthetic materials, and so that just affects it. Some of the at-risk surfaces in a home from smoke is metal and glass surfaces, faucets, towel bars, aluminum window frames, chrome, marble, porcelain, tile grout, china, crystal. All of those things can be deeply affected by the smoke damage. Here's just some examples. You can see the black tar. Yep. And believe it or not, in the picture here, that really is just smoke damage. It's not fire. There's a bathroom. There's some lighter smoke damage. It's not as bad, but obviously still needs to be mitigated. There's a bathroom. Now here's something. This was from a fire we had last year that was in a garage, actually. But just an example of, this was a hubcap, which is supposed to be this color. And that was a total loss. I mean, that black doesn't come off. It was permanently etched into the metal. This is a mirror. I don't know if you can tell, but it totally ruined the glass. That mirror was ruined. This was somebody's. This is stuff that the soot set in and it couldn't be saved. Some things in there: kayaks, pet carrier.
Not the kayak.
Yeah. Here's a before and after of a bathroom, like what we've seen, and then after it was cleaned. And then here's a more dramatic before and after with the whole restoration process. And of course, that's our goal in each case. But you can tell this is permanent in the metal. I mean, the fire wasn't on this, the smoke was on this, and it permanently etched into the metal. Emergency cleaning, we want to neutralize the acid residue. And so they have what's called a surfactant agent that hopefully can neutralize. We talked about all the different acids that are in the smoke. If they can neutralize that, then they can clean it, and they can get to it quick enough.